An exhibit at the Crisp-Ellert Art Museum in St. Augustine explores themes of home, displacement, and migration. The artist behind the show is Kendra Frorup. She is a 2025 Fulbright scholar who received her Master of Fine Arts degree from Syracuse University. She's currently an associate professor of art and design at the University of Tampa, where she teaches sculpture and printmaking. And she joins us now. Kendra, thank you so much for being here. It's great to meet you.
Thanks for having me.
I'm going to have you scooch in just a little bit there.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you. So this exhibit is called Roots, Return, and the Weight of Memory. And it reflects a little bit about your own story. Can you just tell us about your own experience and how it figures into the themes of the show?
Okay. Like you said before, I'm from the Bahamas. And so I now that after post secondary education, I've spent most of my time in the U.S. And so a lot of my work is about memory. It's about my memory of living and growing up in the Bahamas. And I questioned that. And when I did my Fulbright, that's what led to this show. When I did my Fulbright, I revisited or did my Fulbright in the Bahamas. And so it gave me an opportunity to sort of reflect and create new memories and dig into the memories that I had as a child.
How do you think the art is impacted by just your experience, your migration experience, but also the travels that you've done? How does that figure into the work that you produce?
Travel is a big part of my art making. Travel allows me, one, to not only collect objects, but to collect processes. One of my colleagues the other day said, "You don't only collect objects, you collect." I'm a hoarder, really. So she said, "You don't only collect objects, but you also collect processes," and travel allows me to do that. My time in Africa allowed me to collect or learn bead making or paper making, etc. And so I find that enters into my artwork. So travel is a huge part of my art making, meeting people.
Do you try to meet other communities of artists when you're doing this traveling?
Yes. One of the most important things that I do when I travel is to go into the markets. And I think that's a place where you meet people in locals in their own element. And so that's when you find real experience, when you gather real experiences in the markets.
So your artwork, it's, part printmaking, part sculpture. You do casting in concrete and in metal, and then you also incorporate things that are from the natural world, even pieces of coconut, but also kind of found objects. And there is a whimsy about it. And in fact, one of your shows, I believe, was
The Whimsical Collector.
Yeah, that was at the National Gallery in the Bahamas.
Yeah, that was a 2022 mid-career retrospective. And so, yeah, I do. Like I said, I'm a collector or a hoarder, however you want to title that. I collect objects, both natural, both industrial, and they find their way into my work. It's not always linear. When I say that, I mean it's not always a direct story, or they don't always connect to each other. Each work doesn't always connect to each other, but they somehow find their work. My nature is I'm whimsical.
What catches your eye when you're collecting or hoarding, as you say?
Familiarity is most important. I like things that I can relate to. Also, I think there is a sort of crude, rough quality that I look for. I like rust. I like worn, weathered, tattered. I like to give it new life. And so that's something that I'm totally attracted to.
And is that something that's like a metaphor that you think about consciously, kind of giving something new life, or is it just sort of happenstance?
It's a little of both. Like I said, I'm from the Bahamas, and when I look at the culture, it's changing. And I take pictures often when I go. The nature of the buildings, they're not beautiful in the traditional sense, like the paint's peeling. There's a look, there's a quality. They exist. They're functional, but not always beautiful to the layperson. So,
or not perfect.
Not perfect. Yeah, perfect is the word.
Yeah, and I think of collecting pieces and putting them together. There is a sort of childlike inspiration to that. I think it is something that kids are almost naturally drawn to create when they, pick up things and put them together. Did you start being an artist? I mean, you've probably always been an artist, but when did you start practicing it?
So I was reflecting on that the other day. I went back to my old neighborhood when I was on my Fulbright, and one of the things that I was in charge of with my little group of friends. I grew up in this, I call it the hood. I grew up in Yellow Elder, and my with a close knit group of knit friends, um, and in playing dollhouse, I always constructed the house. Like I made it from pieces of wood laid on top of each other, and so I always had that sort of um, construction. My dad was a contractor, construction
Ah.
slash whimsy and way of putting things together.
And so this exhibit, it goes through March
28th.
28th, but tomorrow you're having an opening reception and an artist walkthrough.
Yes.
What is it that you will anticipate that will look like?
So I anticipate people. The work is you can tell it's from the same artist. It's all cohesive, but it's different. Some of it's printmaking, like you said, some of it's sculpture, and I anticipate an audience that might be curious enough to question what I'm doing, how I got to it, my creative process, etc.
Well, the show is called Roots Return and the Weight of Memory by Tampa-based artist Kendra Frorup. It is at the Crisp-Ellert Art Museum at Flagler College. It's on view, as we said, through the 28th of March, and the opening reception is tomorrow. It starts at 5, but the artist walkthrough starts at 6. Kendra Frorup, thank you so much for being here today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.